Alright, so in this chapter, in this section, we're going to be implementing our application in Plunker, alright, which is basically gives you a little hosting environment for your Angular application. Alright, so what we're going to do is you go to plnkr.co and we're going to launch the editor. And if you have a GitHub account, I'd suggest logging in. You should have a button over here to log in. That way you can save your plunks and you just have a little more access control. Alright, so if we look on the left here, these are the files that you're provided with by default. Okay, we don't need a README, so I'm going to get rid of that. Alright, and we have an index file which has just the basic HTML5 layout, a script.js file which is empty, and a style sheet which is empty. Alright, so first thing I want to do is bring our resources into our file structure here. Alright, now as far as I know, you can't just drag files over and upload them, so we're just going to create a new file. Alright, and first thing I want to do is bring over the bootstrap files. So bootstrap.min.css. Alright, and then we'll go to that, back to Sublime Text and grab it. Okay, so I'm just going to select all and copy and paste that in. Save. Alright, so that's that. Now we want the bootstrap JavaScript file. So we'll create a new file. And it's going to be bootstrap.min.js. Okay, and we'll go copy that. Okay, now we'll go paste that in. Whoops. Okay, and we want to save. Next, let's see, what else do we got? Our style sheet. Alright, now there's already a style.css file, so I'm just going to copy everything we have here, and I'm going to paste it into that file. Okay, we'll save that. Now, when we work with Angular, we're going to be working with views, alright? Basically, we're going to have our main index file, alright, and that's going to have all of the head information, it's going to have the menu, and then we're going to have an area in between where we need to put a directive, and that directive is going to insert whatever template or layout that we need, and that's going to go by the URL. Alright, so we're going to set up routes, but for now let's just get the index file and paste it in here. Alright, now I'm going to save this how it is, and I just want to make sure that everything's going to display correctly. So I'm going to go up here and click this open the embedded view. Alright, so this is what our site looks like now. We don't have our about page and all that stuff uploaded yet, but we can see that the CSS file is good, the bootstrap files all working, so that's good. Now this script.js, this is going to be our main app file. Basically, we're going to create an Angular application here, but before we do that, we need to actually include the Angular script. Alright, and there's actually a few things we need to include. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the index, and down at the bottom, okay, right before, actually we don't need this. Okay, so right before the closing body tag, I'm just going to paste in a bunch of references here. Okay, so the first one is just jQuery. Okay, so we can use jQuery. And we're using the Google CDNs for these. Next is the angular.min.js. That's the main Angular application file. Okay, that's all the core functionality lies in that file. Now, I forget which version it was, but as of the latest version, the routing system isn't included in this file. All right, you have to include a separate file, which is the angular-route.js file. Okay, and that's going to make it so that we can set up routes for our URL. And I almost forgot, but most importantly, we want to reference our main script. Okay, so it's going to be script and src, and it's going to be script.js. Alright, so whoop, I forgot that we have the ending tag thing. Alright, so that's going to be our main app file. Okay, so we'll save this. And let's open that script file up. Alright, now the first thing we need to do, everything in Angular can be considered a module, alright, including the main application. So that's what we need to do. We need to declare the application. So we want to say variable app is going to be equal to angular.module. Alright, and then we want the name of our application. I'm just going to call it computer. So that will basically create the application. Now to initialize it, let's save that. We need to go to index, and in the HTML tag right here, we're going to create, or we're going to add a directive. Okay, and this directive is called ng-app. All right, and that basically defines our entire application. So everything in this tag is our application. All right, so we want to set that to the name of it, which I called computer. All right, so this right here should match this right here. All right, that's pretty much the first step. So we'll save that. Now to create our routes, as I told you, we have the Angular route.js that handles all the routes, but we need to define these routes, and we can do that in our main script file. All right, basically we're going to add a config function here, and we could do app.config. Okay, everything here is going to be done to the app, to the application. But what most developers will do is they'll remove this semicolon, and we'll just kind of chain things along. Okay, so basically this is the app, and then we're putting the .config right after it. All right, so let's open this up like that, and we'll put a semicolon for now, but we're going to chain other things onto this as well. Now before we can do this, what we're using, I guess the module we're using for routing is called ng-route. And when you want to bring in something like that into your app, you need to claim it as a dependency. And you want to do that up here. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to have basically an array of dependencies. All right, even if we didn't have any dependencies, you should still have these brackets. I think it throws an error if you don't. But what we're going to do is we're going to include ng-route. Okay, and that's going to allow us to use the routing provider. All right, now in here, we have quite a bit to do here. We're going to open up some brackets here, and then we're going to specify our route provider. All right, so route provider, and you want to have these semicolons. Basically, this is dependency injection. We're injecting the route provider into this function or method. All right, and then after that, we want to call our function. All right, and in the function, we need to have route provider as a parameter or an argument. Okay, so now we can use the route provider in here. All right, so let's create our routes. Let's see, route. Route provider, and then we're going to say dot when. All right, and then inside of this when, we're going to have the route we want. All right, now we're going to have our application, and then, whoops, we're going to have our application, and then slash, what do we want to do? It's like this. I think it looks like something like that. And basically, we're just going to use this to access different routes, which can have access to different controllers. So basically, right here, I'm going to say when the application is at /main, then let's see, when it's at /main, then we're going to set the template URL. Oops. Set template URL to main.html. Okay, so this is going to be our view or template, whatever you want to call it. And then we also need to set it to a controller. All right, so controller is going to be called main CTRL. Okay, some people will actually spell out controller, and a lot of developers will just use CTRL. It's all your preference. Just make sure that it's consistent. All right, so that is our first route. Let me just indent this. Okay, so basically what it's saying is when we go to /main, then we want to load this template or view, and we want to use this controller. Now to create the controller, we can just tack it on to this config. Okay, so this ends here. So what we can do is get rid of the semicolon here, and then down here we'll just say dot controller. All right, and the first parameter here is going to be the controller name. Actually, I've been using single quotes, so let's stick with that. The controller name, which is going to be main CTRL, and its naming convention is to capitalize the first letter and then the first letter of every other word. All right, that's basically what most developers will do when creating controllers. All right, so the next thing is going to be the dependencies. Okay, so we want to open up these brackets, and then inside here, for now, we're just going to have the function. All right, we'll be adding more in here after, but for now, we just want the function, and we want to specify what we want to happen when this controller is called. For now, let's just console log, and we'll just say this is the main controller. Okay, so we want to save that. Now we need to create this template right here, main.html. So let's create a new file, call it main.html. All right, and for now, let's just say, we'll just say welcome to main.html. We'll save it. All right, now it's not going to do anything yet. All right, so if we go ahead and take a look, nothing's changed because we haven't touched the index page. All right, so let's go, let's go back to index.html, and then we want to figure out what we want to take out and what we want to keep in as the main layout. All right, so the main layout's going to be the head, it's going to be the nav bar. This is all stuff that we want in every template or in every layout. We're going to keep the footer. What we do want to take is the page content. All right, so in this case, we're going to take out the Jumbotron. I'm going to take out the Jumbotron and then these columns down here. All right, so I'm just going to cut those for now. And what we want to put here is we want to put two different things, two different directives. One is going to be the controller. We need to specify which controller we want to use in this area. So we'll say div ng controller, and the controller we want to use here is going to be the main controller. All right, so that's going to specify which controller. Next, we need to put in the view directive so that each view will display here depending on the route. Okay, so we can say div, and then the directive we want to use is ngView. All right, and we don't need to set that to anything. Actually, did I mess up something with the divs here? I think I did. Where's that? Container. Oh, I think we got one too many here. There we go. All right, so we get that, and there's nothing's going to go in this div here, so I can bring this up. All right, so we'll save that, and let's go ahead and take a look at it. All right, so it's not displaying the main template. Let me just take a look here. Okay, so actually it's calling the controller. You can see that we're getting this is the main controller. So that's working. It's just not displaying the view. When I say view, template, layout, basically mean all the same thing. I know I should be more consistent with that. Oh, and I think I know what's going on here. Basically, we're just viewing the index page, the home page. We're not going to /main. So we should be able to go to /main. Is that how it's? Actually, I think, see, the Plunker URL is kind of messing me up. I actually don't think we can do that from up here. I think we have to specify a link. So let's go to the index and change the home link right here. Okay, we should be able to change that to, let's see, we need the hashtag character and then /main. I think that should work. So let's open that up again and home. All right, there we go. Welcome to main HTML. All right, now we don't want to have the user go to /main. Obviously, we want this displayed at our root. So basically, we can do that really easily. Let me get rid of that. All right, so we can do that by going back into script, and then we're going to tack on to this when. Okay, get rid of the semicolon and put a dot, and then we should be able to say otherwise. So basically this means if it's not anything specified up here, then what do we want to happen? Basically what we want to happen is we want to redirect to /main. Yeah, all right. So let's save that. And basically we can actually view this in this window. It's just that I'm using such a low resolution that it's going to be in mobile view. Well, I guess that's not, but I kind of want it to show at the same time. So yeah, so you can see now we're not in /main, but it's displaying /main. All right, let me show you a bigger example. So this should bring us right to the main template, which it is. All right, so let's create the main HTML. Okay, basically what I want to do here is paste in the stuff I copied that I cut out of index HTML. All right, so all this stuff. All right, and you can see it's already showing down here. This is a live preview. Okay, we don't even have to save. But if we save it and then view the larger preview, okay, so that didn't update for some reason. Huh. You can see that it's working here. It's just, it's not updating for some reason. Maybe it just has to take a minute. All right, there we go. All right, so now you can see that just going to the root of the application is going to show us this screen, which is exactly what we want. And if we click home, it's going to keep us there. It's going to take us there as well. All right, so that's that. Now what I want to do is show you how we can pass data from our controller into the view. All right, so if we go back to script.js, you already saw that the controller is in fact running when we visit /main. All right, so if we want to pass something in, we need to use what's called a scope. All right, so we need to pass that as a parameter. All right, now this will work if we say console.log scope. All right, now that will work, but this isn't exactly what you want, because if this is named anything different, then this is going to break. All right, so basically what we want to do is claim it as a dependency for the controller, and we can do that by going right here after this comma, and you want to put this in quotes, and you just want to put in scope. All right, so whenever you want to pass something in here, usually you want to define it here as well. All right, so let's just see what this comes up with. So if we hit F12 to go to our tools here, let's see, there's a whole bunch of stuff here, and most of this is for Plunker itself and the editor and all that. So you have to kind of go through and you know, just see what's coming from Plunker and what's coming from your app. Let's see, this is the main controller. Undefined. All right, so it looks like scope is undefined. Oh, I did this wrong. Actually, you know what? This needs to go after the bracket. I don't know why I did that. So let me cut that out. All right, and this needs to go here. All right, so we'll save. And now you can see down here, this is what the scope is giving us. Okay, a whole bunch of information here. Mostly stuff that we don't really need to know what it means, but we can assign different values to the scope object. All right, so if I say scope dot person is equal to John Doe. Now, if I go and look at the scope object, we have person John Doe. All right, now you can access it from the view as well. All right, so if we go to our main.html, which is our view, we can, let's see, we'll put this, let's just replace this just to show you. We can do this with double curly braces. All right, and then you just want to put in the variable that you attach to the scope, which in our case is person. Okay, if we save that, you can now see it's printing out right here, John Doe. All right, so anything you assign to the scope in that particular controller is going to be accessible in the view, which is really cool. So that means that your data and your models are completely separate from your presentation or your view, which is exactly what you want when dealing with web applications. So let's go ahead and just change that back. And I mean, that's what we're going to be doing. What we're going to do is grab the data from the JSON file that we're going to create and insert the services and the locations. But first we need to actually create those views because right now, let's see, well, we don't even have them uploaded, but our HTML site, we just had the entire template in every page, the about page, the services. What we need to do is create those pages here as views or templates and insert them into the main template depending on this, depending on the URL. So we will do that next.